Okay, let's get started. Today's Lunch and Learn session is on Zedmed Office Setup. Before we dive in, some housekeeping items just to get out of the way. Please remember to mute your microphone by clicking on the microphone button in your control panel. And you'll also have a way to collapse your control panel by clicking on the right orange button there. And that will move it to the right of your screen. Feel free to type out any questions in the chat section as we go through today's session, and we will endeavour to answer them at the end of our session today. To begin with, let's take a look at the branch settings. You'll find that under Practice Setup and under Branches. To begin with, if you need to, or there may come a time where you need to add a new branch, you would begin with the Add New, and this would allow you to populate the information that we see here on the form. What I will point out is if you are a specialist clinic, you will need to select specialist here, and you can enter in the details as required. If you are looking to upload summaries to My Health Record, you will also need to link in your HPIO number just here. Going into the options, so what I'll point out here is, first of all, the default account holder. This is where you can set it to default to Medicare or private. Your invoice header. If you need to set customized headers for your doctors, this is where you can change that. And that is one of the topics that I'll be going through. So I'm going to change my invoice header to customized. And I'll bounce back to this in a few moments. Another good one here is remittance advice on invoices. This is where you can enable that. Print gap. This is where you can enable that. That's also another good one. Your default contact method. This is where you can set it to be mobile. And for our Zedmed users that have been using our older versions, you may prefer to automatically set the classic patient search rather than the smart patient search. Your MC Plus items, this is where you can automatically populate with your Medicare item numbers. And apologies, I've skipped over this one here. So leave receipt payment amount blank. I'm going to enable this and I'll touch back on this as well. Over to the right-hand side, the file numbering system, I would recommend just to leave it as system. There's very unique cases where you would change it. Your waiting room settings just here. The settings that I have applied are the default settings that you will have with Zedmed. Rarely would you have to change any settings here. Your SMS settings. And the bottom section here, the MA online overwrite location, again, a very unique circumstance where you may be merging with another branch or two clinics are merging together. And down the bottom, we have a few buttons. So the edit text is where you can edit your receipt heading. The appointment confirmation button, If I go into preview, so you can create a custom message here, and the appointment confirmation looks like this. So some clinics may be handing these to their patients as they're booking appointments. So you can create a unique message, as you can see there. The invoice message. So this is a little bit of text that can appear on your invoices. And generally it appears about 2/3 of the way down the page. And I'll show you this as well. And lastly, your email setup. This is where you can enter in your email provider settings so that you have the email functionality within Zedmed. So a couple of things that I just want to go back to. Firstly, just with regards to billing, so we have the remittance advice. I just want to show our attendees what that looks like, as well as the customized invoice message and the other invoice message here. Let's take a look. Okay, so first of all, I don't currently have a invoice or a header, customized header selected here, and I'm going to take us through how to actually create that. Here's my custom invoice message, which was the invoice message button down the bottom of our branch settings. And here's our remittance advice appearing in yellow. I will mention here in previous versions that the invoice message would only appear on the original invoice. So the invoice that actually gets printed out. We have now added this function here in version 31 that it will now show on subsequent or duplicate invoices. Great, so that's our branch settings. What I'd like to go back to is creating our invoice headers for our doctors. First, you'll need to navigate to Practice Setup, down to Doctors, and across to Find Treating Doctors. Pick out one of your treating doctors, and you'll notice an invoice header button here. This is where we can actually create the message that appears in the header of your invoices. Now, to save you a bit of time, we actually have a resource available on our website, and it's through the Help button up the top here. This will take you to the Help section on our website, and I'm going to use the search function here. And the first option that comes up is setting up custom invoice headers. Now, this is our support article for what I'm about to show you. What I do want to point out is we do have a sample here, or a template, if you will, to help you get started. I'd recommend doing a right click and saving that onto your computer. When it comes time to creating the header, you would open up that Word document that you've just downloaded, highlight the text, choose copy, and paste that into Zedmed, like so. From here, you can make your specific changes as required. Let's now take a look at what our invoice looks like. You now notice I have my custom invoice specific to my doctor. Nice and easy. That's how you can create customized invoice headers for your doctors. The next topic we'll take a look at is the security settings. You'll find this under the Utilities tab and Security. In the security module, staff members can be given access to the Zedmed system and granted specific levels of access or restricted from using features and sections of the software by an individual with administrator access to the security module. To create a new user, begin by clicking Add, enter in a username, a staff ID, and what we want to do here is make available the included role that they are performing. Use the arrow keys to select and remove roles as required. Once you click OK, you'll be prompted to enter in a password. So that's how we can create a new role, or a new staff member rather. Looking at the specific roles, you can add or remove roles as you see fit. My suggestion to you would be to, before clicking add, is to maybe look at the existing functions of the roles that are already here. So for example, going into edit, you'll be able to see the included functions that are available for a nurse. If we have a look at a doctor, clicking on edit, you can see here all the included functions for a doctor. Also, you may want to tweak the existing roles that are already in the system and remove or add certain functions. As I suggested earlier, it's always good to have a look at what the starting point is for a doctor in case you need to go back to the default included functions. Also, it is recommended with security updates in version 31 and after that it's been recommended to set up an administrator account for your administrators within the clinic, as well as possibly your IT support. To give you an idea of what an administrator role looks like, going into Edit, you can see the functions that we've included for the administrator role. Going back to staff, you can see here's our admin username. And you can see the included roles that we've selected for our admin user. What I'll also point out here is the password for the admin user we've set to never expire. So that's a quick overview of the security settings, creating a staff member, as well as the roles and how we can edit the included functions. The next topic I'll move on to is how to set up new doctors. Now, as we saw before, I set up a receptionist and all of my steps were performed within the security module. With setting up a doctor, it's a two-step process. Let's begin with the first step. What I'm actually going to do first is create the doctor profile. We can do this under Practice Setup, Doctors, and Find Trading Doctors. With setting up a new doctor, start by typing in the doctor's family name and click on Find. What will happen is it'll ask you if you want to create a new record because it can't find who we're looking for. You will need to pick a doctor code that currently hasn't been used. With your doctors, the important sets of information you will require to operate in clinical is the doctor's prescriber number, their provider number, as well as a bank list and the branch. Once you've filled out all the details as required, click on the Close button to save the doctor profile. That's the first step. Now we can go back into the security module and create a user account for the doctor and link up his doctor profile. Let's begin with Add, creating a username, staff ID, and link up the doctor code. Add the appropriate access. Click OK, which will prompt us for a password. As you can see, I've created a new doctor in the system and linked up the doctor code. Just going back into the doctor profile. Choose the appropriate MA format, whether you're a general practitioner or a specialist. I skipped over that. So just to summarize, with creating a new staff member, you can perform that function within the security module. With creating a doctor, it's a two-step process by creating first their doctor profile, as well as creating their user in the security, as well as linking up their doctor profile, their doctor code, I apologize. On to our next topic is the SMS configuration, which you will find under Practice Setup and SMS configuration. What you can do here is a few things, is create custom SMS messages for the appointment types that you have in the system. To add a message, click on the Add Message button, select the appointment type, and create new. Here is where you can create the content of your message for the specific appointment type you've selected. A great function with our SMS messages is we can insert merge fields, which are placeholders for certain information. So as you can see, I have a unique message for my standard consultation appointment type. Be mindful that you are limited to 160 characters per message. It's not to say that you can only use 160 characters. If you go beyond the 160 character limit, traditionally, it's only used for one message. If you go over the character limit, it will send potentially two messages, which from the clinic perspective, you'll be charged for two messages rather than the one. So that's how you can create specific SMS messages for your appointment types. Looking at the appointment reminder schedule, this is available in version 31.1 and after. Here is where you can set a schedule for sending out those reminders. You can begin by clicking on the Add Schedule, provide a description, I'm going to select 2 days ahead at 10 a.m. for the appointment type standard consultation. Make sure I have it in selected. And as you can see, I've now created a schedule for the standard appointment type 2 days ahead at 10 a.m. So that's a quick overview of SMS configuration, and how you can set up customized SMS messages for the appointment types you have in your system. The last topic for today's Lunch and Learn will be the appointment types and how we can set those up. You'll find that under Practice Setup, down to Appointments and Appointment Types. Here is where you can set up specific appointment types for your clinic. Begin with the New button. Give your appointment type a name. A code, and a duration. Down below is where you can choose the text color as well as the background. Depending on the color, I'd recommend either choosing white or black. So nice and easy, that's how we can set appointment types in your Zedmed system. A couple of things I'd just like to point out here is the linked appointment as well as the surgical procedure. As an example, immunization, I have set as a linked appointment in my system, and operation is linked with surgical procedure. Let's have a look at what that looks like in action. I'm going to book my patient in for an immunization. And you notice that it asks me for linked appointment details, which I can choose my nurse and pick a specific time according to the nurse's availability. And that's what a linked appointment looks like. To demonstrate surgical procedures, as soon as I choose my operation appointment type, the surgical procedures section appears. This is where I can choose my type, fill out the appropriate details, any notes, as well as the surgery details. A linked appointment with a surgical procedure will only remain in the doctor's column. To view the surgical procedures is under the surgical procedures menu. That's all for today's content. Just to close out our session for today, for our future Lunch and Learn webinars, please register through our website. Today's session, including our previous sessions, are all recorded and available on our website. Please send through any feedback you may have to implementation@zedmed.com.au. We value your feedback and it allows us to grow and make these sessions better for you. Some resources available through our website. We have the client login. We can access how-to guides and manuals. We have our friendly support help desk, as well as our after-hours support. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy day. That's today's Lunch and Learn webinar. Have a great day. Thank you.